Miracles of Today by William J. Cassiere. Miracles of Today, Chapter 4, Episode of the Frost in the Citrus Grove. Out of the blackness of disorder and its outpouring of human misery, there will arise the order which is peace. When man learns that he is one with the thought which itself creates, all beauty, all power, all splendor, and all repose, he will not fear that his brother can rob him of his heart's desire. He will stand in the light and draw to himself his own. The Lost Prince. A new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another as I have loved you, that ye also love one another. St. John 13:34. I had left Chicago to visit some friends in the South. They had had a hard time of it. In 2 previous years, they had failed to get a good crop. The first year, it was one thing. The second, a hurricane had broken through. Yea, smashed its way through the citrus belt, leaving only warped and broken trees in its wake. To save the grove, it became necessary to prune and doctor the trees, and the badly broken limbs had to be painted to prevent fungus or other diseased growth. Any grower will know better than I can tell how a tree surgeon will labor to save a tree, even as a doctor labors to save a human life. I arrived in March when there was still a possibility of frost, yet the grower was unprepared to take measures against it. In fact, none of us gave a thought to the possibility of frost. It happened so very seldom. But strike it did. One morning, lamentations awakened me from my sleep about an hour before my usual time to arise. Dressing quickly, I went to the dining room, where my host was discussing this latest calamity with his family. Having lost 2 previous crops, this was the crowning blow. In other words, it was the last straw. This meant failure. Now man's extremity is God's opportunity, so I told my friends that God had never created the frost. That was man's work. God could easily overcome it. Of course, that is a bombshell to most people who believe that God, a great being sitting far up in the heavens, is the cause of all calamities. They as readily believe in the expression, "It's an act of God." Further, they seek to put upon this far-off being all blame for things not readily understood. So these kindly folk argued with me on this score. I said, "Now, if you care to argue some of these facts out, why not argue them out with God, if perchance you can find a God to argue with you? But please don't argue with me, because I will not argue any more than God will." Finally, someone said, "Well, let's see you do something." "I of myself can do nothing, but the God of my fathers, he doeth the works," was my reply. So I went out to the grove. Along each row of trees I walked, down one side and up on the other, then across the rows, pouring out my heart's love, first to my presence, then to the trees, decreeing, visualizing, and affirming perfection until I was called for lunch. Time and space had been set aside. 5 hours had passed as 5 minutes. At lunch, I was questioned about the laws of life, so that our discussion lasted into the afternoon. My host had had to look after some chore about the place, and upon his return he mentioned a change in the grove. The new growth on the trees, which had been badly affected so that they turned black from being nipped by the frost, were beginning to look less seriously hurt. My first act was to bless and thank God. Lest the reader think it had been too light a frost to affect the fruit and blossoms, let me assure you that all the new growth and the blossoms dropped off. Later on in the season, a new growth appeared and the trees bloomed again. An excellent crop came to replace the blackened leaves and buds. I ate some of the grapefruit from those trees that year after I returned to Chicago. Grateful friends shipped us a crate of pink grapefruit. I was grateful to God the Father, Gratitude is the first great law of existence. Remember that, my friend. Not the second, nor the third, but the first great law of existence. He who seeks God seeks light. Light you have. If ye seek more light, be grateful for life and light. They are synonymous. Then give praise for light, for life, for love. Without love, how can anyone be truly grateful? Too many students decree like automatons. They give forth no active gratitude, no love, nor praise, nor thanks. Then they have surely asked amiss. A miss, at least, not a hit. They wonder, why didn't God answer me? Or why did God let me down? Seek your answer in 13th Corinthians. Charity, it states, is the greatest of the Trinity: faith, hope, and charity. Like many others, I like to feel that if I love enough, I shall include charity. So I substitute the word love. Jesus said something to the effect that if you love him, you will do charity. John 21:15. So remember, my friends, if ye believe, ye may walk in the midst of the fire, on the waters, or in the storm, yet be unaffected.